Well, I'll tell you, when we all started getting stuck in our homes, and we had to make them where they were comfortable to live in, and gave us a little peace, and we have all this stress and all this stuff coming at us on the news, and viruses, and depressions and all kinds of stuff. There has to be a way to fix your house where you can love to be there because you're going to be stuck there. And that's when I call my friend Julie Schuster and I go, man, what do we do? What do we do? I'm tired of looking at these walls. And welcome to the show, Julie Schuster of Julie Schuster Design Studios in Manhattan, New York. Good morning.
Good morning, Alex. It's great to chat with you again.
Always. It's always great. It's always great. So I have become, and I've always loved plants. Okay. I'm an outdoor guy. I love plants. But since this COVID thing started, I have been putting them like an indoor farmer everywhere because I want them around me, because plants seem to bring a certain peace to my soul. So Feng Shui, when we're talking about Feng Shui, that's a big part of it, isn't it?
Feng Shui is an ancient set of guidelines that people used initially, not so much for interior design, but actually more for figuring out the most auspicious and safe places to locate their village, their home, where, what was defendable, what was giving them access to light and land to grow their food on, and water to drink, and rivers to travel on. So that's really where Feng Shui started. So obviously the tie-in to nature is there, absolutely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And balance, because all of the five elements, the air and the water and the land, I don't know what all five of them are. You'll tell me. Sun, it is really the biggest part of that's sort of the mix that they're bringing in, the stars, everything on Earth, everything around us that's earthy. How do we incorporate that into a bathroom? We were going to talk about Feng Shui in bathrooms and sort of making your bathroom your little paradise.
And we can do that. And it actually doesn't really matter whether it's a large bathroom or a small bathroom, whether it's, the most recently renovated room. You can apply Feng Shui in your bath, and it really can become much more of an oasis for you when you do it. Talking about the five elements, though, is where you begin. So the five elements are fire, water, metal, wood, and earth.
Well, I was close.
The most important one there. And obviously, when we think about a bathroom, all right, well, clearly it doesn't take a huge stretch of imagination to try and figure out what element the bathroom is predominantly. It's predominantly water. Why is it water? Well, because obviously we have sinks, toilets, baths, showers, water everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing to remember from a Feng Shui perspective is that mirrors are also water element. So then now you layer that in there as well. And obviously we have an abundance of water in our bathrooms. Is that a good thing, or is that a bad thing?
That's interesting that you say that about mirrors, because I've always been told that glass always remains in a liquid state. It's very interesting.
I've never heard that, but that's the case, definitely. Mm-hmm. It is representative in decor of water element, for sure.
Very interesting, yeah.
So now we have this room that has this massive overabundance of water. And as I said, is that a good thing, or is it a bad thing? From Feng Shui, you made mention of the fact balance is an awful lot of what we deal with when we're talking about it from that perspective. So how do we balance an overabundance of one thing? By applying other elements to it that can drain or mitigate some of that overabundance to bring us back into stasis or into balance. What does that for water? Predominantly, one of the key things is earth element. So since we are talking about mitigating too much water, how do we do that with earth element? Well, we can do that with the colors that we decorate with. What are the colors of earth element? Oranges, browns, taupes, yellows. Those are earth element colors. Some of the colors that you see behind me, very strongly earth element. So that would be a great way of introducing it in, whether it's in towels, artwork, the feature wall, perhaps in your bathroom, the color that you're choosing for that.
The lighting,
maybe
the lighting.
You can always, yes, you can always, bring that in as well. But that's fire element now. So that's really
fire. Oh, okay.
More of a neutral when it comes to mitigating water. Water does douse fire. So introducing fire is a way of also draining away some of the power of water. So there you have an opportunity to do that as well. Anytime that you do that, that brings it back into alignment, it brings about balance.
So a little house plant, maybe somewhere in the bathroom.
Oh, plants in your bathroom are always a great thing. As a matter of fact, when it comes to plants, things like an orchid, they don't necessarily have to have a lot of natural light. They are air purifiers, and they're a great thing to put in there, as well as, obviously succulents, air ferns, things like that don't necessarily need a lot of attention and can function pretty well in less light. Although, as you say, wherever possible, we want light. We want a lot of it in our bathrooms.
Have a window that you can bring where you can bring the outside in, where you have a window and maybe you're looking out at plant a garden or something.
Awesome. Not necessarily something that you can do in every New York City bathroom.
That's right.
But in your part of the world, that's a lot more common, and it's certainly great.
Yeah. So we have the water, and then we're sort of offsetting that with these other elements. Now, a lot of the pictures I've seen when I was doing my research will have maybe some nice little polished rocks in the picture. Little things that I thought were quite interesting. Actually, I saw that in a lot of the pictures I looked at when I was doing my research for this, and of course the color is really interesting. But let's talk about the fixtures and the type of, like the countertops and the type of hard surfaces. How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, they're really, again, we're talking about, when it comes to, like you say, the countertop material, you're talking about really more color that plays into this, and the colors that you select for it. The color white is obviously one of the most important things that people want to put into bathroom decor. It has its pluses and its minuses, because it's not really, it's a pretty neutral color when it comes to adding or subtracting. It is, however, very reflective. It does bounce light around a lot, and that is a good thing.
And then, so a lot of times we'll introduce natural. Of course, we have the natural stone countertops, which is always helpful. A lot of the tile selections that we have now, the options that we have, are really, really nice and interesting and earthy. I'm always attracted to that earthy stuff because that's just who I am.
The ones that tend to look like, whether they're natural rock or river stone or that sort of thing, they're great to incorporate in your bathrooms because they're, as you say, they're bringing in nature. They're representative of earth elements.
It's kind of interesting because when you're dealing with your customer and your clients, and you're in the design phase of it, you start to get a feeling for who they are with where they gravitate to as far as these elements go. So I've had and a lot of it, sometimes it's a guy, I'll have guys come in and say, well, I want everything to be black. And you, and you go, no, no, you don't.
Not in a bathroom. Black is water.
You just think, you do.
You're just filling the trough with more.
We're not living in Rome anymore. And then, but it's this sort of earthy. I think that what they're trying to do is a lot of times people will say, well, if I like a little bit of it, I want it all to be there, then I'm going to like it a whole lot more. And my theory has always been, and I'm not a designer, you are, so you can, shoot me down if I'm wrong, but my feeling is that you take elements, and I'm kind of wanting to say you tease with them, but you draw interest with it by having enough of it, but not too much of it. You want to look at something and go, that's a little different. That's interesting. You don't necessarily want the whole thing to be like that, or it doesn't become interesting anymore.
Well, in addition to being a Feng Shui practitioner, I'm also a living in place professional. So obviously we know that when it comes to the home, and this is kind of getting off the Feng Shui topic for just a minute, 80% of all accidents in the home happen in the bathroom.
That's right.
So one of the things that we want to talk about when it comes to designing a bathroom, let's say, for instance here, is using things that are also safer and more accessible. Again, not necessarily even for something that you're doing today. Maybe you don't have arthritic hands today. Maybe you don't have any subsequent dizziness. But you know what? One day you're going to have a cold and you're going to have a fuzzy head. And you're going to be really happy that we planned that accent tile in your shower, because it's a faux horizon line. And that's going to help you get your balance back if the shower's a little too hot for you.
That's fascinating. I had never thought of what I call the hot streak as being a focus line. That's very, very interesting. Because I know that we do a lot of planning where we might, like you say, I'll say, do you want grab bars in the shower? Oh, no, man, I'm too young. I don't need that. And I go, okay, someday you will. Or some, or
look, seriously, honestly speaking, you're never going to have a ski accident. You're never going to fall off your rollerblades and need a handhold to get in and out of the shower. You're never going to have a family member come visit you and use this bathroom that might need this.
So there's a lot of planning you can do, though, that you don't have to have the grab bar, but you put the blocking in for it, so you can add it later. Safe, where it doesn't get yanked out of the wall and stuff like that. Bathrooms are very complex, for normally a smaller space. It's a very complex room, really, if you think about it. It's got everything.
And I'm sure, Alex, as someone who has designed and built a lot of bathrooms, people are always very confused. It's such a small place. Why does it cost so much to do this? It shouldn't. I decorated my entire bedroom for half of the money that it takes to remodel this bathroom. Well, yeah, you did. I believe you.
Your bedroom doesn't have plumbing, lady. Some do now.
That would be true too. But the point is, yes. I mean, there's a lot of elements that we can bring in. You got me started talking about tile, and one of the things that I love to do with tile is make sure that we have a balance of elements in there that we can incorporate. As you say, make sure that the blocking is put in before you put the tile up. Make sure that you built a horizon line into your process. There's a beautiful opportunity to do that. And the other thing that it does is it keeps the eye moving. And beauty has to do with balance. The way we appreciate beauty has to do with the balance that it brings into our environment. So too much of a good thing is also not always best.
That's right.
So just because you love a particular tile doesn't mean it should go floor to ceiling on all four walls.
Exactly. Yeah. That I mean, and to me, it's just it's like artwork. I think that's where I found that, because when I look at art, when I'm looking at a painting like the one behind you, I might look at a certain part of it that really draws me. There's something about that I go, it's not because of the whole always, it's because of something in it that I go, that was really interesting that they did that the artist came up with that idea. And to me, design is the same thing. I see it as truly as artistic work. I mean, you're a creator. You as a
Well,
designer are creators.
yeah, honestly speaking, when you see an image of an interior decor, a room that really resonates with you, I think what you're going to find is the thing that you love is that your eye has to keep moving. There's so
Very
much to take
interesting.
in
Hmm.
that you don't, that's where texture and shading and all of the other nuance comes into it. Just like you were talking about, like the piece of art that you
Hmm.
admire. You don't necessarily have to love every part of it, but you want it to and continue to entice you. The thing that you liked makes you look at something else, which makes you look at something else. And that's what a beautiful room or a beautiful home does as well. That's what interior decor is all about.
And I totally agree. That's the talent part of it. That is what makes the difference between talented people and people that maybe don't have that experience factor yet. And you are wonderful. You're always so much fun to talk to, such a great guest. And I'm so glad that Manhattan is starting to kind of come out of its shell. I know New York has had such a tough go of it. And I'm so happy that you guys are starting to kind of live again.
We are, thank goodness. And it's a process. Look, it's like
Hmm.
anything else. It's not going to happen in a moment. It's not going, but it is moving in the right direction, and that's the key thing we want to keep all of us doing is
Thank you so
walking
much
forward.
for spending time with us today. It's always a pleasure. We need to continue to do this more often. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Alex.
Thank you.
It was
Julie
great seeing you.
Schuster with Julie Schuster Designs. In a minute, we're going to have a hot roofer talk about hot roofing. We'll be right back. Don't go away.